The Story Droid presents The Body Mechanic, a short story written by Andrew Dresner, all rights reserved. Narrated by using the voice Aurus in Google Gemini 2.5 Pro Preview TTS. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, businesses, events, and incidents are the products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. Please don't continue listening if you're triggered by situations centered around adult language and some violence.
I said, fuck medical school, Angel Mathis said as he gently moved his hands over the robot's body, only pausing at the joints, being careful not to miss anything. It was laying on a table in the center of the room. I don't give a shit about any of that. Just tell me what the hell you're doing, Gabe Seiden asked as his eyes widened. This is a Sally, possibly a first generation, Angel said. One of Synth Lab's earlier creations. The braids that make up the tensioning cords are not woven as tightly as they are now. Also, notice the lack of definition at the groin and no nipples on the breasts. What the hell's wrong with it? Patience, young man. I need to conduct a thorough examination. I don't have time for this shit. My boss wants the thing fixed now. Well, call your boss and tell him to calm down. If the unit is damaged, more can occur if it's not handled correctly. Gabe walked over to the other side of the room and proceeded to pace. He'd thought the place would look more like a garage where cars were repaired. His boss told him to bring the robot to Mathis, who he referred to as the body mechanic. Never having been in an operating room, Gabe imagined it was a close match. A high-tech table in the middle, tall cabinets along a wall, and in the center, a lamp with mirrors around it. Where did Herman find this one? Gabe looked up, eyes wide. You know the boss? How long have you been working for Herman? None of your business. Listen, kid, I've been doing this a long time. I know you want to make a good impression, but if you continue to interfere, this'll take longer. I make no guarantees. The unit may be too far gone. How about what's in the other room? Don't you have spare parts or something? Gabe said as beads of sweat began to form on his forehead.
These things don't work that way. You can't just pull out parts and replace them like a car. If you look over here, you'll see most of the innards are much like layers of fabric placed over one another. Gabe walked over and looked into the opening in the torso. He noticed the layers of tightly braided fibers. Besides these few details, the robot still looked quite realistic. The facial features, hair, muscle tone, and body shape adding to the effect. Why does Herman want this one? He usually likes the bigger units. So, as I was saying, I spent a year and a half in medical school until I wised up. I quit before owing a ton of money. I hate to break it to you again, I really don't give a shit. Just fix the goddamn robot so I can get the hell out of here. And what the hell is that smell? Is that puke? Ah, young man, I've found the problem, Angel said. The biocell has ruptured. Can you fix it? Gabe said as he covered his mouth with his sleeve. Not sure. It depends on how severe the breach is, and if the contamination affected vital systems. They did protect them from this sort of thing, but sometimes the measures would fail. Can you bring me the bucket from the corner? Angel said as a smile appeared on his face. Gabe grabbed a metal bucket from the other side of the room and had to retreat after dropping it on the floor next to Angel. The stench seemed to be too much for him as he began to gag. You might want to leave for this part. It'll get worse before it gets better. What the fuck? It's a robot. Why the hell did it need to eat? This was an added feature when they'd be sent into the field for long periods of time. All of the Synth Lab products can charge with an induction coil. They sit on a small pad. When they came out with the Sentinels, this was added, to make them seem more real.
How do you know so much about them? Gabe asked while breathing through his mouth. That information is above your pay grade. If you can't stand the smell, why don't you make yourself useful and fill those 2 jugs with water? Angel pulled out a tube from the robot's torso and began squeezing a foul-looking liquid into the bucket, seeming unfazed. Gabe filled the jugs but wouldn't approach. Angel walked over and grabbed the water and loaded them into some sort of machine. He then began to spray the inside of the body, and more liquid poured out. Gabe became nervous as the bucket began to fill up. Hey, can you? If you were going to ask me to dump the bucket, you can go fuck yourself, Gabe said while attempting not to gag.
No, I'll do it. I wanted to know if you can go into the refrigerator and get me my sandwich. Hell no. You'll eat once you fix that stinky bitch robot, Gabe said as he sat down on a stool. Angel laughed as he brought the bucket into the bathroom to dump it. Gabe looked away as he walked past him a few more times. You might want to leave for the next part. I'm not leaving. Just get it over with, you asshole. Angel lifted a mat, exposing a drain in the floor. He walked back over to the robot and turned it on its side. He pulled a hose over to the table and began spraying it with water, causing more putrid liquid to drain from the robot. He then switched on an exhaust fan, which began removing the odor from the room. Why didn't you switch on the fan sooner? Are you fucking with me? Gabe asked while getting up. Sorry, I forgot, Angel said, trying to conceal a smirk.
Listen, old man, I'm growing tired of your bullshit. If you want me to stop, you can take the robot out of here. I have other customers to take care of, Angel said as he wiped his hands on a rag. Gabe walked back to the stool and sat down, saying nothing. The water began to run clear as it poured from the robot. Angel took the hose and put it into the robot's mouth. The water from the tube protruding from the abdomen spurted more nasty liquid. A few minutes later, the water ran clear. It seemed Gabe was about to vomit, but was able to regain control. So, what happened to Charlie? He usually brings in the robots. None of your business. That information is above your pay grade. Touché, young man, Angel said as he turned the robot over, positioning it face down, then placed a fresh towel under its face and began moving his hands over its body. Are you perverted? Why do you need to touch it that way? Because the repair guide says to do this. Can you give me a break, kid? If I skip a step, I might miss something. Gabe decided to go outside and get some air, now aware that he had the nasty smell on his clothes. He wanted to punch someone, but decided to restrain himself. The last time he felt like this, he punched a metal door and sprained his hand. He took months for the pain to subside. Hey boss, I'm still here with Mathis, Gabe said, speaking into his phone. What's up? How's things going? It's okay. Then why the fuck are you calling? Can't he fix it? He's still working on it. Where are you now? I'm outside. The place stinks to high heaven and I can't stand it. Get the fuck back in there and watch him, and grow a set of balls, Herman said. Gabe heard laughter in the background as the call ended. He raised his arms over his head and slapped them down hard while shaking his head. After walking back in, Angel had what looked like a gigantic hairdryer blowing into the robot's torso. He was mopping the floor around the table, and the place began to smell like bleach. Not long after, the dryer was pushed out of the way and the overhead light switched on. Angel pulled a cart over and began sealing up the skin. He worked around the opening with a surgeon's precision. Gabe had once seen a colleague fixed up by a local EMT who worked for cash. In this case, the thread was close together and very neat. Angel was thankful Gabe was giving him a break. It would soon be time to see if the processor was still intact. Hopefully, the unit hadn't sustained trauma to its head or torso. Corruption to the code would only happen from an intentional hack or reprogramming mistake. The unit must have been on assignment and couldn't recharge. Angel placed an induction coil under the buttocks, and to his relief, it began to charge. He'd take a break and work on another unit. Are you done? Gabe said while getting up from the stool. Like I said before, this takes time. It'd be best if you go and come back. It's going to take a few hours for the unit to charge enough for me to run diagnostics. You must have somewhere to go. What the fuck is this? Gabe said as the door opened. Hold on, young man. I have other customers, Angel said as he went to grab Gabe's shoulder. Two men entered, carrying in what looked like a body wrapped in a sheet. They placed it on an empty table near the far wall. Angel nodded as he walked over to them. He pulled the sheet back to expose what looked like a young, blonde-haired girl. I don't know, boys. This one looks pretty bad. We need you to tell us its name and if you can get any data from it, the larger of the two men said. Hey, is that a Sally? The other man said as he pointed at the table in the middle of the room. Why don't you mind your own fucking business? Gabe said while getting up. Listen, why don't you go back and sit down on your little stool and keep your mouth shut? Angel moved between the two men. How about we take this down a notch? Gabe slowly moved back to the stool.
The two men were standing next to Angel at the table looking at the little robot. One of the men walked over to Gabe with his hand outstretched. "I'm Chuck Kelly. It seems like we got off on the wrong foot." "You got that right," Gabe said while standing up. "How about you get some water and calm down? This won't take long. It seems like that Sally unit still needs to recharge before Mathis can continue anyway," Chuck said. "What are you, a fucking expert on these robots? How about you mind your own business?" Gabe said while getting close to Chuck, who stayed very still. "No, but he is," Chuck said, pointing to the other man. "If that's so, who the fuck are you?" Gabe said. "I'm Bert Becker. I helped design the Sally at SynthLab." Gabe walked over to Angel and pulled him close. "What the hell's the matter with you? If these guys are from the robot company, I'm screwed and so are you. You know what will happen when Herman finds out." "How do you think I get the parts to fix the robots? Bert helps me, and I help them with some of their difficult cases." "So how did you get Sally 1? Bert asked. "None of your fucking business," Gabe said, as spit ran down his chin, face turning red. Bert pulled out a laptop and placed it on the table next to the Sally. "Hey, Angel, everything looks good. Nice job cleaning out the bioleak." Angel nodded as he walked over to Bert. "Once it reaches 30%, you can power it on by using this command." "You've been holding out on me. When did you guys do that?" Angel asked. "Not all of them have this feature. We played around with it but didn't roll it out just yet," Bert said. Chuck was still on the phone while looking at the small robot. "Did you get the pictures?"
The Sally should be fully functional. The battery will charge to approximately 88% of original capacity, which is pretty good for that age of robot, Bert said while looking at his computer. Angel, Bert, and Chuck moved back to the table where the little robot was laying. They were speaking low, so Gabe wasn't able to hear. Gabe pulled out his phone and sent a text message to Herman. This became a three-ring circus, and he wasn't feeling right about it. Herman's response was unsettling. Gabe looked over at the table where the three were still talking. "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" Gabe asked as none of the others acknowledged him, which caused his face to redden again as he moved over to them. "Do you mind?" Bert said as Gabe punched him in the face. Chuck then pulled out a gun and held it inches from Gabe's nose. Angel knelt down to help Bert up. "What the hell is your problem?" Bert asked, staring at Gabe while wiping blood from his mouth. "I've had enough of this. You were supposed to fix the fucking robot and not have a whole lot of people around," Gabe said. "How about I deactivate this Sally units, and if I do, you'll never get it working ever again," Bert said as he went back over to his laptop. "I knew it wasn't a good idea sending this shit for brains," Louis said while grabbing an egg roll off the table. "Charlie's gonna need a few more weeks. He's still having trouble walking," Herman said while eating some noodles and then firmly planting his fork into the white container. "Gabe's been acting like a fucking child." "Agreed, but did you want to babysit Mathis?" "No, and didn't you want me to be around for the deal tonight?" Louis said while dipping his egg roll into a small container of duck sauce, being careful not to drip anything on the floor. "I have to agree with you. He just sent me a text. Mathis has a few guests," Herman said between bites. "And Gabe can't control that shit? So what's the plan?" "I'll go in and untwist Mathis's balls and find out what the fuck's going on." "What about Gabe?" "Go get the car. I'll meet you outside in 10. Louis sat in the driver's seat waiting for Herman to come out. The air cool, smoke floated away from his cigarette into the dark sky. Careful not to trap any in the car since his boss didn't like it. Last month, he almost put one of the guys in the hospital for smoking in the office. He must have gone to get his Glock. Herman had an affection for certain guns, and that was the one he used at night during the week. He entered, and now the car took on a scent of Chinese food and strong cologne. The night was clear and the streets empty. Angel's shop was across town, located on the west side, tucked in between a moving company and warehouse full of hot dog carts. The block had a club at each end, with cars jammed in on each side. Herman pointed to an open spot in front of a roll-up door with large letters stating 24 hours, no parking. Mathis painted it himself to keep it available for customers. Herman got out of the car and breathed in deep while adjusting his gun. He placed it in the waistband of his pants, then checked his coat to make sure it was covered. He used the green door off to the side. "Hello, Mathis," Herman said as the door closed behind him. "Hey, boss, check this shit out," Gabe said as Herman hit him in the head with the gun. This knocked him to the floor with a slap.
The three men stood motionless around a table at the far end of the room. "Mathis, what do we have here?" Herman asked while putting his gun away. "The Sally will be ready soon. What brings you by?" Herman picked up a stool, brought it to the center of the room, and sat down. "Got a message from Gabe saying that you have guests who are causing problems."
Clearly, you see, no problems here. It all depends on what the fuck is going on. This has nothing to do with you. Why don't you get the hell out of here and let us work? Bert said while moving towards Herman. Please excuse my partner, Chuck said while grabbing Bert's shoulder and pulled him back. You on the job? Herman asked. Retired for 5, worked downtown for 30, Chuck said. You just stepped in some shit being here. What happens now? Chuck asked. I shoot the 2 of you and Mathis finishes fixing my robot. Or I shoot all 3 of you and I find someone else to fix it. Herman pulled out his gun as Bert began to move towards him again. Chuck grabbed Bert and stopped him. Your friend isn't too smart, is he? Herman asked, pointing his gun at Bert. Hey, Herman, you don't... Shut up, Herman said to Angel while crossing his legs. Gabe now began to groan. Get up and get the hell out of here. Gabe slowly got up and made his way to the door. Now you explain what's going on here and keep it short, Herman said as he lowered the gun. These guys came in here for some help. No need to worry about them, Angel said. How about you try again, Herman said as he raised the gun and chambered around. Chuck grabbed Angel. I'm Chuck Kelly, and this is Bert Becker. We work for Synth Lab, the company who made the Sally robot. I want my robot fixed, and I like things confidentially done. Now you guys see me and my business. Angel put up his hands in protest. Herman got up from the stool, ran over and hit Angel with the gun, knocking him to the floor. Bert ran over to help as blood ran down the side of Angel's head. All you guys know how to do is swear and hit people? I've been fixing robots long before you were born. How about you get the hell out of here and let us get back to work? Angel said as he made his way to a stool and sat down. Herman stood motionless with the gun now pointed toward the floor. A green light was flashing on Bert's laptop. It was still sitting on the table next to the Sally. What's that mean? Herman asked while pointing at the laptop. The Sally's now fully charged, Bert said. You better not fuck it up by giving it a virus or spy bug. Bert shook his head while pointing at the laptop and motioning if he could go over to it. Herman nodded and waved his gun towards the Sally. Now what to do with you guys? I can't let you go. No way to trust that you will leave me alone. I can assign my people to watch you, but that's a pain in the ass. Gabe wants me to kill all 3 of you. Chuck shifted his position, but didn't advance, not knowing if Herman had more men outside waiting with Gabe. Bert was typing at the laptop. The Sally was going through its startup sequence. Herman walked over to the other table and looked down at the little robot. How about you tell me the real reason why you guys are here? This small robot was found in New Mexico near White Sands. It was sent to us anonymously. We've come to Angel to see if he can get some information from it, Chuck said. Who the hell builds robot children? That's fucked up. Do you guys make them? Herman asked. No, we decided never to do that, Bert said while staring at his laptop. Hello, Bert Becker. How are you? Sally asked while sitting up. It's been 1,456 days, 7 hours, and 11 minutes since we last spoke. Bert got up and grabbed a sheet to wrap around Sally. So are you working now? Herman asked. Sally hopped off the table, ran towards Herman, and hit him so hard it knocked him into the wall. He bounced off and landed on the floor. Chuck couldn't believe what just happened. The naked robot bent over and grabbed the gun out of Herman's hand.
What'd you do? Angel asked, turning to Bert. Nothing. The Sally finished up its boot sequence and accessed its long-term memory. I saw a power surge and it went after Herman, Bert said while grabbing his laptop and punching some keys. What the hell did you do that for? Herman asked while trying to get up. I'm gonna fuck you up. The robot stood motionless while still pointing the gun at him, the white sheet barely concealing its body. Have you seen Charlie? Louis asked while lighting a cigarette. Yeah, a few days ago, Gabe said while watching some people make their way up the block. Should we go in? No, Herman told me to fuck off. Who are the guys that showed up? Louis asked while blowing smoke into the air. Two assholes saying they're from the robot company that made the thing. That's some crazy shit. They brought in a robot that looks like a kid, Gabe said. Who the hell would make such a thing? Dumbasses, Gabe said as he turned to look at one of the young men walking up the block. What the fuck are you looking at? Then one of the ladies pulled the man away. You gotta chill out, Louis said. Your attitude always gets you into trouble. Why don't you mind your own fucking business? How did Charlie mess up his foot? Again, you're butting into something that's none of your business, Gabe said while cracking his knuckles. That's the kind of attitude that can fuck up the operation. What the fuck is this? Gabe asked, now watching two men approach the door to Mathis's. Hey, get the fuck away from there. What's it to you? One of the men asked as he turned towards them. Gabe approached one of the men. Why don't you get the fuck out of here? Gabe raised his fist and was about to punch him as the other pulled out a gun. NYPD, get down on the ground. Soon my guys will come in and you'll have to shoot all of us. Do you think you can do that, you retired pig? Herman asked through a grin. Bert turned to Chuck but didn't say anything. The robot stood motionless with the gun pointed at Herman. What's your problem? We got you fixed, didn't we? Herman asked while rubbing the back of his head. I can do that, Sally said. What's that? Herman asked. I can shoot your men if they come in. How about you give me back my gun and put some clothes on? Herman asked, practically yelling. It's not your child, Bert said. Shut the hell up, Herman yelled. You did something to it so it'd turn on me. 3 weeks ago I was in your office. Charles Kemp brought in some food. As we were eating, he grabbed my chest. That's when he discovered I wasn't human. He slapped me in the head and pushed me to the floor. I got up and punched him in the face, which caused him to fall back. As he fell, I was pulled over him and ended up at the bottom of the stairs. The fall knocked my biocell out of alignment, and it failed. Gabe Seiden then picked me up and locked me in a room. I lacked the energy to break out, and they waited outside for me to shut down. Charlie figured my memory would be wiped once I lost power. I was able to hear him speak to Gabe from inside the room. That explains a few things. Now what do we do? Angel asked as he grabbed a rag and dabbed at the gash on the side of his head. We should get Herman out of here so we can get back to work, Bert said. Chuck was typing away at his phone. Herman sat with his back to the wall, arms resting on his knees as if waiting for something. We take Herman to the police, Bert said. I'm not sure if Gabe will agree to this. He might have a few friends waiting with him, Chuck said, which prompted Herman to smile. You seem like a bunch of smart guys. Why don't you give me back my gun and I'll leave, Herman said. Bert and Chuck walked back over to the little robot. Angel decided to join them, and Sally remained motionless. They moved the table to the center of the room, directly below the lamp. An equipment cart was pulled over. Bert and Angel began cutting into the robot's chest and pulled back its outer skin. Chuck stood by, taking pictures and adjusting the light every so often. You could end this by giving me back my gun, Herman said softly. I predict a 98% chance that you'll hit me in the head with that steel pipe leaning against the wall. Then you will shoot the 3 men. It's best if you keep quiet and let them work, Sally said. That's almost true. I'd probably punch you and then break a leg or arm. So now this leaves us time for more of my guys to show up. They will come in here and shut this shit down. Sally didn't show any signs of intimidation, which was unsettling, Herman thought. It seemed like a normal woman when it was hanging around the office last week. Charlie met her at City Dolls a few weeks ago. He assumed she was a dancer after having a few drinks. Are you with the feds or the cops? Herman asked while starting to breathe heavily. His tone clearly changed. NYPD. I can't share anything additional. Don't worry, you'll be arrested soon, Sally said. What did Chuck say? Rick Compton asked. He sent a text saying that a drug dealer ended up at Mathis's place, Fred Giffery said. Nothing they can't handle. The Sally is functional and showed back up on the system. Demo 8 sent in an email. He recommends we send in an extraction team to help. What do the police say about this? They say the dealer in question is low level. The Sally sent them good information on higher level people. They're pleased and want to move forward with leasing more robots. This is great news and will allow us to expand the Sentinel program.
Rick's office was quiet as the two men sat at a small conference table, papers strewn about with some pictures of the little blonde-haired robot they just printed. The sky darkened, which could be seen from the windows behind his desk. The rest of the office was quiet since many had left for the day, with only some utility robots cleaning and a few others distributing mail. "You want to order food? The cafeteria just closed," Fred asked. "Sounds good. We had Italian the other night. What are you thinking?" "I never thought we'd be working all these late nights. It seems to get more intense. Feels just like grad school, when we'd be fixing a server or cleaning up after Lickstein." "I'll send Peter an update. He should be back from Anchor Kell soon. I'll see if he wants us to order him something." "What did Ryan Kell say about the mysterious robot?" Fred asked while looking at his phone. "He feels that we'll have to come up with a plan to deal with this, since it'll only get worse." "Why would anyone make a child robot? I want Joe Valker to look at it." "Good idea. I'll see if he can check it out first thing," Rick said as he looked at a menu from a local diner. Peter Berman, CEO of SynthLab, walked in, sat down at the table, and let out a long sigh. He loosened his tie and rolled up his sleeves. "And when I think things can't get more bizarre, I heard from Chuck and Bert. They've got themselves into some situation. At least Sally 1's back online." "The child robot contains weird circuitry. They're attempting to trace some of the components. Angel Mathis thinks it was made in Vietnam," Rick said. "It didn't take them long to start building something. I would have figured sex machines would have shown up first," Peter said. "Why build children?" Fred asked. "They are the best kind of sentinels. You imagine? It could enter a playground, a parade, or sporting event. You name it, it'd blend in seamlessly. It could deliver a sizable payload and no one would give it a second thought until it was too late," Peter said.
"Do you mind?" Herman asked while trying to close the door to the bathroom as Sally entered. "I can do this myself." "You are not to be trusted," Sally said as she took off the sheet and hung it on a hook. Now Herman was standing in a small bathroom with a nude robot watching him urinate. It proceeded to dress while he finished up. Herman washed his hands and then moved towards Sally. He grabbed it by its neck and pushed it against the wall. Then someone knocked on the door. A sound from the other side of the door was getting louder, a power drill or some machine spinning up, and then the door exploded outwards. A large thing stood outside from what the sound was coming from. "This is Hydro 1 and I'm Demo 6. Can you please step away from Sally 1? "I know what you are. I got some of your kind back at my place, but what the fuck is that thing?" Herman asked while pointing at the larger of the two. "This is Hydro 1. It wants to break off your arms. If you step away from Sally 1, it'll move back," Demo 6 said. "What did you do to my door?" Angel said while looking at the debris strewn all over the floor. Chuck and Bert just stood shaking their heads. "Relax, we'll buy you a new door," Chuck said. Hydro 1 grabbed Herman and pulled him towards the front door. It was lifting him off the floor, his shoes barely scraping along. Demo 6 and Sally 1 followed. "Never a dull moment with you, Angel," Bert said, walking back to the table. "I'm hoping we can send something useful back to the guys at the factory." "What's with the Sally? Is it a spy or something?" Angel asked as he adjusted the overhead lamp over the little robot. "The bosses don't tell us everything, so please don't waste your time digging. Let's get back to work," Chuck said. Bird grabbed his laptop from the other table as Angel pulled a cart over and began attaching wires to the little robot. Chuck found some tools and began removing the jam from the bathroom door. "The skin looks pretty good. They put the texture into it by hand when it was still curing. You can see pole marks where they didn't lift the dye completely. It was before stamping it down in another section. The eyes look like they're off-the-shelf prosthetics. If we can get a serial number from them, it could be a lead," Angel said.
Thank you for taking the time to listen. Please comment below. We look forward to hearing from you. If you enjoyed this program, hit the like button and subscribe so you're informed as to when new stories are available.